but you need to scale. Then the only way to do that is to leverage wisdom and resources that exist outside of what you're currently trying to do. In other words, you don't know what you don't know, right? And none of us do. None of us got it all figured out, right? I believe there's 3 distinct things that you were designed on this planet to do, all right? You were designed in the image of a creator. God crafted you from before the foundation of the world to be distinct and unique. And He crafted you as a creator. And if He says that He made you in His image, what does that make you? If He's a creator and He made you in His image, what does that make you? A creator, right? So you're meant to create. All of you are creating. You're creating businesses. You're creating ideas. You're creating designs. You're creating things that come to life and express something and tell something. Tell a story. Move somebody. Inspire somebody, right? They change the world for a better thing, right? All of you are meant to do that. And you're also meant to contribute, just like God contributed to the planet and what He did and everything that He continues to maintain. You're meant to contribute as well. And so what you're doing is more than just selling beauty products and lash products. You're meant to contribute to the world that you live in and the people that you impact, right? And then number 3, which is what you're getting today here and this weekend. You were built for community, right? None of us were meant to do this life alone. And that's a deceptive trick that we all get wrapped into sometime or another, thinking that I'm the only one that's feeling the way that I'm feeling. I'm the only one that's experiencing this loss or this hurt, this pain, etc., and I can't share it with anybody. I used to be one of the most unwilling persons to trust anybody on the planet. And obviously for the dirt that I was into, right? Didn't trust anybody. But that was a flaw of mine, and that was a misconception that ultimately was detrimental. And that's one of the things that can keep you stuck as well, is by keeping yourself isolated in a box, right? And you don't want to do that. You now have no excuse. None of you have any excuse now to say why I don't have some people I can tap and ask for ideas, ask for creativity, bounce some ideas off of, vent if you have to, right? You all got somebody. So I hope before you leave here today, I hope each and every one of you get each other's numbers. You get each other's email addresses, follow each other on social, and look at it as more than just a business transaction. Because guess what? Money comes and goes, guys. That's a byproduct of becoming who you are. You look at anything on the planet that's been created, and somebody made it. Somebody made those bags that hold those chips over there, right? And they made this wood that we're standing on right here. That stuff's going to come as a byproduct of just being who you are, right? So it shouldn't be the main focus, in other words. Okay? I'm not going to share this because that was my gnat time. I was going to share the gnat story with you. But you guys already heard that. And you guys understand a little bit of why I told you that and why you're here this weekend. Because it's reflective and reminiscent of the fact that you're here for some radical change and you're here to overcome these areas that have once hindered you. But you know what? They're just an obstacle standing in the way. Now you're here. Hallelujah. I want to give you 3 secrets. I'm going to give you 3 secrets and 5 marketplace truths. Okay? I'm not going to deep dive into all that because it would take me forever if I did. So I might give you 2. I think I'm going to give you 2 of those marketplace truths, but I'm going to give you all 5. And you can sit on it, marinate on it, talk with one another about it. We're actually going to do something after the fact. Did you get all those papers, by the way?
I did.
Okay. We'll do something afterwards that'll be proactively designed to take something away from this place that you can tangibly implement. Was the goal behind it, okay? So we're going to hope and pray that that's the case. Okay? But 3 secrets and 5 marketplace truths. So these 3 secrets to life, and as you can probably tell, I'm already weaving this stuff in from inception. I've been talking to you about it since last night. And I'm not going to shut up about it because it's part of who I am and it's part of who you are. And it's part of what you are meant to be. But the 3 E's, okay, I'm going to call them essence. You can write essence if you want. Your environment and your expression. Okay? Now your essence, these are just fancy words here, and I'll try to break it down here, okay? But essence, that knowing who you are as a brand is key to astronomical possibilities. We're talking about identity, brand identity, right? And with all these things that have a physical truth in the marketplace, here's a key for you. Here's some key insight. It's also true of you, right? It's not just a physical product, but this also relates to you, right? Okay, so just keep that in your dome. Number 2, understanding. Understanding your audience is what allows you to serve and connect with them at the highest level. Okay, that's your environment, right? And then the expression is applying the proper principles and strategy increases your success rates. That's kind of like a duh, right? Like if you just do the thing and you do what you know works, you got a ton of wisdom and insight in this room here today, right? Tiffany knows a ton of stuff, obviously, right? She just smokes most people with what she does in a good way, right? Gretchen does too. All of you have some insight you can share with one another. So you got to leverage the principles, right, and the practices and strategies in place that have already proven to work. Why are you going to reinvent the wheel 100,000 times? If it's working, take it, right, and use it. You don't got to always go and recreate the wheel. I think a lot of times for creatives particularly, maybe you might relate to this, you might not, but we think we got to go and I got to be the one that start the new thing. I got to be the one that has that idea, right, and I'm the pioneer behind it all. Well, being a pioneer doesn't necessarily mean that you figured out all the pieces, because none of us know it all, right? All right, did I give you enough time there? Yeah.
What was the three? Essence and what?
Essence, environment, and expression. All right. So Puerto Peñasco. Anybody know where that's at? Anybody been there before? South Arizona. Puerto Peñasco around 2005. There's a little story about me getting stuck over there in more ways than one. Okay, I was with a chef, a diesel mechanic, and myself. We went down to Puerto Peñasco to go, I don't know, maybe it was spring break or something. We had a buddy, we're all from Idaho. We had a buddy down there that's living, he's going to diesel mechanic school down in the Phoenix area. So we're like, we're going to go visit him and hang out with him, etc. He's got this front-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma, which is kind of an oddity to be from Idaho and have a front-wheel drive pickup. Yeah, and so we were out there. We're like, okay, let's cross the border, go into Mexico. Let's hang out for a couple nights and just drink beers on the beach and just hang out. And that's what we intended to do. So we get down there. It was pretty late when we get down there. And I actually had some family that owns some property in there. We're like, we're going to stay with them. But by the time we got there, too late. I wasn't going to go knocking on my tia's door saying, please open up for 3 drunk guys here at the door. So we went just straight to the beach, and we decided to park on the beach, hang out there, and just listen to music and hang out. Well, before we know it, I won't get too far into this, but time just flies when you're just enjoying each other's company, etc., right? Next thing we know, the sun's coming up, right? And on the beach, I'm not a beach boy, I'm a mountain kind of guy, right? What ends up happening? The tide comes in, all right? So we noticed the tide's coming in. We were already pretty close to the water as it was, but we're like, oh, we need to get out of here, right? So I jump in this guy's Toyota Tacoma, my buddy's Toyota Tacoma, hit it, right, in reverse, and just like in the snow here, we weren't going anywhere, right? So then I end up rocking it back and forth, and all of a sudden we just sink down into the sand, all the way to the axles, right? We're like stuck into there really, really bad. And we're like freaking out, like what the heck we're going to do. And me and the chef was in our truck. I think we were just like, oh, I'm going to count it as a loss, just sacrifice it to the ocean here and just let it go. And my buddy, the diesel mechanic, said, no, we're not going to do that. So he runs up to a beach house up the road, rips a board off the house. They weren't happy, I'm sure, the next day. So I'm sorry, whoever that was. He rips the board off, shoves it underneath the tires, kind of like what we were doing out here, and gets that thing unstuck, right? And that story always sticks with me because as I moved into the marketplace, I started to realize, oh, there's some truths behind this particular story that I mentioned. And I believe that I put it on that handout that I'm going to jump into here real quick. And if it's not, then I'll share it with you later. Yeah, I did. Okay. So I put it on here. But I broke it up, I think, into 2 pages, or 3 pages. You're going to have 2 of them on one page each, and then 3 on the last one, okay? So I don't think I'm going to get into the other ones. But what I learned from this, and we'll translate this into the marketplace, is about the vehicle that you have, right? The vehicle you have is important. The vehicle that we had obviously wasn't built for the environment that we were in. I think it was really timely that Michael was sharing about systems and processes, right, for the systems that he uses. Because you can be using what you think is the right vehicle, but without the proper components in place, it's not going to do what it is that you need it to do. And so I think if you take away some things, there's something you can take away from everybody that was sharing here today, and I wouldn't overlook any of it. There's something in there for you. So even the systems that are in place for you right now aren't serving the benefit that they could. It may be worth considering a change and doing something there, okay? Number 2, ingenuity. When you think, let me ask you, what do you think ingenuity is? When you think of ingenuity, what comes to mind?
Not genuine.
What's that?
Not genuine.
Not genuine? Okay.
It's about how to create like a new process of doing something.
Okay. Yeah, something out of the box. Creative. What's that?
Figuring it out.
Figuring it out. Doing something, figuring out how to do something, right? And I was reminded of that with this, ingenuity, you know. Like I wouldn't have thought go rip a board off a house and, you know, shove it under the tire and get it out, but that's what he did, right? He was ingenious about it. Leveraging, right? Obviously we use leverage in that example. But leveraging is more than just the physical, tangible things in place. We talked about wisdom and principles, right? That's leverage as well. If you can shave off 10 years of your life of mistakes by leveraging the wisdom of somebody that's gone before you, do that. That's powerful. That's impactful, right? And if it's right in front of your face, take advantage of it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be thinking that somebody's going to think you're stupid or you're too young or whatever because of the fact that, you know, you're asking them a question. Leverage the tools and the resources that are around you to make things easier for you. Okay? The environment. This can go in a couple of different ways. When I'm talking about environment on that previous slide, I'm talking about the marketplace in general and understanding your customer base, right? Understanding who it is that you're serving. And I'm going to get into it a little bit deeper on one of these other slides here. But understanding how your competitors, how the people out there are attracting and retaining their customers as well, right? We got to get better about understanding the marketplace, right? If you don't dive into that component and see what people are doing even behind the scenes, because there's one thing on the front end of it, and somebody was sharing about social and hiring social managers to just post, you know, whatever they throw out there, and it's not making a huge impact. That's one thing. Having tactical strategy and understanding of how people behave and why you would want to share what you share, that's instrumental too. I'd say that's even more important, right? Because that drives your intention. That drives your focus and why you're doing what you're doing, right? So we're talking SEO, right? We're talking getting behind the scenes and understanding keywords, right? Understanding why people buy and why they do what they do. And that's what we got really good at with what I was doing back in corporate America. We got to study human behavior so well that we understood the things that were going to make them tick. We knew the things that were going to make them shift. And not just from an external factor, but internally the employees that we were leading, because there was over 75,000 employees that we had impacted. But getting them on board as a community to believe in the same ideals, to champion in the same direction, right? And they had to be on that same page in order to understand, hey, this is how we perceive the marketplace now. Okay, I need you to help us transfer that message from internally now to the marketplace and get them to want to buy products, services, etc. from us and stick around for the long haul. And not just that, but in the cell phone industry, it's a lot different than what you're doing. In the cell phone industry, it really is around taking each other's clients, right? So you got to go and capture market share from somebody who's already established it. So everybody's just like shifting, right? It's customers going from one, they get pissed off, they go to the next one, right? And then they go back over here, right? They go to Boost, and then they go to T-Mobile, and then Verizon, etc. And that's how it works in the cell phone industry. Kind of sucks. And then the piece that I would say that is probably one of the most overlooked pieces, but it's a key component that ties all these things together, is the planning piece. Some of us, and I don't want to label anybody particularly, but in the creative space, and I can chalk this up to being one myself, but some of us in the creative space, we're not the strongest in the planning sector, right? We don't have a game plan in place of how to put all these pieces together, how to put our systems in place with our mission, vision, and values, and our strategy, right? And how to tie all those components together. And that's okay if you're not there. Again, leverage the tools and the resources that are available. Tons of systems that are available. I'm not going to go deep diving into technology, but I'm a tech nerd too. Tons of stuff that's out there that you can utilize. And just like Mike said before, if there's not something there for you right now, check in 3 months. Technology is moving that fast, right? There are resources out there for you to help you in the planning phase. But if you don't get a good plan in place, it's like having no plan in place at all. You're just kind of shooting for the wind, hoping that you're going to hit your goal that you have. And so I would encourage you to get better about being in that particular space. Now I'm going to jump into this just a little bit more on the first marketplace truth that I tapped into. So just so you know, because I'm not going to go over all of them again, but the first one was the vehicle, okay, as the marketplace truth. Ingenuity, leverage, environment, and planning, okay? And so in this one in particular, this is about developing a brand identity, the vehicle itself. Because if somebody were to ask you, what does your brand represent, could you do that? Could you quickly and naturally explain to somebody what your brand is, who you are as a brand? Because somebody mentioned it the other day too. Branding is much more than just the logo on a package, right? It's much more than just the color scheme, right? It's much more than the layout of a web design, right? It's much more than that. It goes back to what I talked about at the beginning. Essence, right? What is essence? Anybody know what that fancy word means? Knowing who you are. Yeah, it's your identity, right? Your essence is, in other words, there's so many words we could say for this, but it's your ethos, right? It's your mission, it's your values, it's your purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you just selling lashes? Are you just making people look pretty? Right? Or are you helping that mom that just about ready to pull her hair out with their 4 kids, doesn't know what to do for dinner time, just got in a fight with her husband that left her, and you're trying to help her transform from being the mom that's distraught to saying, hey, now I can have I feel some value in myself because she helped me out with my lashes. Right? How are you interacting with the people that you interact with, and what's the purpose behind it? Because there's got to be something greater than making money, like we mentioned, right? Otherwise, you'll burn out. You'll burn out, and you won't know what to do next. The ingenuity piece. Okay? And the reason why, this is the one I'm going to stick on for probably longer than the other ones, and I'll just give you the other ones as a take-home type of thing. But the ingenuity piece is the one I really wanted to touch into because I believe it's such an overlooked arena. And I don't think it's an overlooked arena. I know it's an overlooked arena. We were talking about customer loyalty programs the other day. Somebody mentioned customer loyalty, right? And how there are apps and programs, etc., out there about establishing loyalty with customers and helping them sense of having a sense of value, right, and community, and leveraging that in order to not only pour back into your clientele, but then scale your business as well. And this is definitely an area that's overlooked. Some quick stats for you. These are recent stats. I'm talking about the customer experience, okay? The customer experience sector of all this. Over $75 billion a year is lost in the market in revenue. $75 billion with a B. That's huge, right? 80% of businesses think they serve well. So when they surveyed this population, 80% of the population believes they are serving their audience well. They believe they're doing a phenomenal job, like, I'm doing, just tapping themselves on the back. But guess what people say? Less than 10%. Less than 10% of people say that the businesses are actually serving what they say they're going to serve. That's a huge disparity, right? And again, the reason why I want to tap into this place, because to stand out in the marketplace, right? If you can understand who you are as a person, as a brand, you nail down your ethos, you nail down your essence, you know who you are as a person and why you are in business. You can serve people now at the highest level out of love for what you do, because when you operate in love for your people, that's when you serve at the highest level, right? You serve those you love better than those you don't love, right? So when you can make a transition from serving out of love for what you do and the people you do it for, now you're able to serve them at the highest level. And guess what? You can just differentiate yourself now from 80% of the marketplace. It's huge, right? Huge untapped market. So if you don't have something in place that helps you establish brand loyalty, that's a takeaway that I would say right off the get-go for all of you. If you don't have something in place in your business to help establish brand loyalty and shows your people that there's value in doing business with you. And it doesn't have to be complicated, guys. It's not saying you got to go dump a ton of money into these people and giving them, all this money back for every time they purchase for you. Because guess what? People just love to feel valued, right? They love for you to tell them that they appreciate your business. They love to hear that you care about them investing the money that they worked hard for, and they turn that over to you. Because we talked about it, especially in the beauty industry. You got moms that haven't paid their rent. They haven't paid their utility bill, but they go do their lashes, right? How are you showing that value back to them, that intrinsic value to say, you know what, man, like that's the sacrifice you made to come and do business with me? Wow, that's huge. And we can deep dive. We still got, 24 hours left. in this room. So if we want to end up breaking down some of the stuff, which I think in this activity that we're going to do later, well, maybe even help flush some of this out if this is a piece that hits home for you.
I have a question for you, Gordie.
Yeah.
You said, so there's such a discrepancy, right? Between a business believing that they're serving well in comparison to what the actual customer is perceiving as good service. Why do you think that is? And the second part of that question is when you look at these statistics, was it on a broad scale? Was it speaking to a specific industry? What was the top of those?
Yeah. So this was it wasn't one industry specific. It was broad scale. And two, the big piece that I believe why you see such a disparity is because people really aren't connected to their customers. They're just doing business. How many of us have started business out of a passion and you were zealous for what you were doing? You were passionate about what you were going to do. All the creative energy that you had went into it, and you lost that. And you began chasing numbers. You began chasing algorithms. Right? We've all been there. Okay? And that's a direct result of losing your connection. Right? When you start to lose your connection with your people, yeah, you can still go make money. But are you still making the same impact? Are you keeping and adhering to the values and the vision that you started out with? Right? If you're not, then we lost our way. Right? You need to get back on track if you lost your way. Right? Because sticking to the mission is more important. Right? The money will come in the long run. That's why it's so important to be connected with your people. Connect with them in such a way that they want to refer business to you. Right? That they're willing to talk good about you on social. Right? On Google reviews, on whatever it is. They're willing to share about you because they value what you bring to the table. So staying connected with your people. And that doesn't mean staying glued to your phone 24/7. Because we've all been in that space too, where it's like, man, I can't get rid of my phone. Can't get rid of email. Can't get rid of anybody trying to get a hold of me on Messenger or anything like that. It doesn't mean that. It means having some systems and processes in place that help reduce that effort for you. Right? And it takes some upfront work at the beginning, but it's worth it. In the long run, it's worth it. That's somebody messaged. Yeah, there's tons like that. Now, I want to share these four with you because these were four pillars that we had utilized in corporate America, which is what was part of the backbone to revolutionize what we did in the decade plus leading up to that. Number one, customer happiness. Kind of already touched base on this a little bit, and I'm gonna read this to you because I want you to catch the correlation between the themes of all four of them here. Okay, there's some related themes that might sound repetitive, but there's a reason for it because it works. Okay, customer happiness refers to reinforcing the value of products and services, acknowledging the customer's efforts, providing relevant self-support, and genuine conversational experience. Okay. Number two, deepen relationships. Again, reinforcing the value of products and services, making relevant sales offers, and reinforcing the customer decision making. Because people buy why? Why do people buy? Somebody mentioned it the other day. Why do people buy?
To feel better about themselves.
Yeah. They buy because they feel like buying. They feel like spending money. And connection.
To want to be supportive of a small business too. Like
Yeah.
if they like you, they're going to be more likely to buy stuff from you.
Which all ties back to feeling. Right? So we tend to think in sales like you're convincing them to do something. Well, convincing is not the same as persuading. Convincing is making them do something that you want to do for your own reason. Persuasion is helping them make a decision that they already made. So either they're going to do it with another business or they're going to do it with you. So are you going to try to convince them to do it because of your own motives? Why are you doing what you're doing, right? Are you going to be pushing them to do it because you have a goal in mind for you? Or are you just helping them along the decision-making process?
Yep.
Make sense? Number three, less effort. Who in the world does not like having to do something and spend a ton of energy, time, effort into, right? We all value time, right? We all do. So again, reinforcing the value of products and services, acknowledge the customer's efforts, provide relevant self-support, and genuine conversational experience. So we talked about the review process the other day. You know, you got AI with chatbots that are now out there that you can do, right? Automated type services that are available out there for you to cut down on some of this interaction with people. Again, that doesn't supplements, I should say, it doesn't replace the genuine human experience. Your people want to connect with you, right? Your customers want to be impacted by you, not a robot. But they do want to save their time, right? They do want to do things with less effort. They don't want to have to spend all day trying to figure out a problem or get a refund for something that got messed up, etc., right? Improving in these specific spaces here. And number 4, stay longer. So again, reinforcing the value of products and services, recognizing the customer's tenure, and leveraging the unique value that they receive as a result of their continual loyalty with you, right? So we mentioned a loyalty-based program, right? Those are common jargon to say you want to give your people a really good reason, a really good sense of the value proposition that you bring to the table and why they should continue staying with you, right? Because everybody's got a choice nowadays, right? All customers have a choice. They can go to somebody else in a heartbeat. You want to establish a good reason why they should maintain with you, which ties back again to your ethos, knowing who you are, knowing the brand that you have, knowing what it stands for, knowing the vision behind it and the mission. And if you do that, and those people that are out there that already exist in the marketplace are attracted to it, guess what? People are like squirrels. We don't have attention spans nowadays, right? I think it's like statistics show it's like less than 7 seconds, 3 seconds. Our attention spans are. We lose our focus in 3 seconds. Man, imagine that. So you got a short window to really resonate and hit at the heart of it with people to say, hey, I value you. I appreciate what you do. But by the way, as you notice the common theme throughout it all, reinforcing the value of the products and services, right? People need to hear it. You have to continually cast the vision. You've probably heard that saying, right? Without a vision, the people perish, right? Same is true in the beauty industry. Without a vision, they're going to go buy some makeup somewhere else. They're going to go put on lashes somewhere else. Continue to cast that vision with people about why they were doing business with you to begin with. And this transcends across all the different pieces of the puzzle that you put together. So all the pieces that go into developing your brand. Like if you got a content plan in place, I don't know if you got a content plan in place, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I want to give you these real quick before I do. So the other 3 that I'm not gonna deep dive into this, but you can have them here. Number 3 is leverage, and we talked about that a little bit. Right? It's developing a strong online presence. Right? And it was talking about the branding component, which is much more than just your logo out there. Right? Do you have a robust media plan in place? And when I say media, I'm not talking about one form of it. And you don't necessarily got to go and tackle everything out there on the planet. That's a mistake that some people make too. They get so focused on just trying to hit everything that they never focus on one thing. Right? But are you tapping into written content? Are you tapping into video-related content? Are you tapping into graphic content? Right? Are you tapping into audio? Right? So we're talking about everything from podcasting to video to copywriting to SEO. Like all those pieces, right? What's your plan in place to that? Because a poorly developed content plan is just as bad as a non-existent one. You feel me? Okay. The other one that we mentioned was the marketplace, or understanding your environment. And there's another saying that you might have heard. If you have raced with runners and they have worn you out, how are you going to stay up to date or compete with the horses? You ever heard that? It's a proverb. If you have raced with runners and they have worn you out, how can you compete with horses? Translated into modern vernacular, if you are using old methods, old technology, old ways, old wisdom to do the things that you're trying to do 10 years down the road, guess what? You're going to get burned out. You're going to get worn out. Okay, so you got to leverage what's in place today and basically catch up is what we're trying to say. Right? Take advantage of what's out there today so that you can not only keep with the pack, but you can stand out from the pack. So if you are leveraging all the tools and resources and wisdom that are available to you today, and you're able to catch yourself in an environment here that you stand out amongst 80% of the marketplace because you know how to serve people at the highest level, then you're going to stay ahead of the pack always. You don't have to be looking behind you. And that's what winners do anyways. You don't look behind you. Right? You continue looking ahead. And then we mentioned planning. Talked a lot about planning, and Tiffany mentioned a lot about planning with the resources that she utilizes. But to add to that, as I mentioned earlier, it's about analyzing all the components of it as well. Analyzing your successes. Okay? So if you don't understand how to move and shake when the market shifts, then there's a problem with that too. There's a red flag there. Everybody went through COVID, and they realized really quickly if they had a strategy in place, if they understood the marketplace well enough to pivot when things happen. Because guess what? Life happens, right? We're in a pretty interesting environment right now in society where, again, the marketplace is changing. What are your plans in place for when that marketplace changes? Because it will. Okay? So if you have all these pieces together, all those 5 components that I shared, then great. I guess you're off to a great start. If you don't, then you got some work to do. And that's good. Because we're always meant to be continually growing, right? We're meant to continue maturing and growing into a better version of what we were called to be. And that's what each and every one of you were. Okay? I'm going to pause there for just a second, because again, I'm not going to deep dive into the rest of it so we can have time to do stuff, and then I know lunch is right around the corner and whatnot. But I want to circle back to what I mentioned last night. And this stuff is going to help you if you can soak it into. I believe there's something in there for everybody if you're paying attention to that. Okay? At the end of that workbook that I had in there, there's some other tools and resources you can click on if you want to do that later to help you do a quick quiz to kind of just formulate where you're at. Basically to get you thinking. Get you challenging yourself about where you're at. Okay? And then seeking the next steps on how to do that. That's what that whole thing's about. Okay? But I want to circle back to this piece right here, because I believe this is really why you're here. And I'm a big guy on purpose. I believe that without purpose, then it's like, what's the point, right? We get burned out with stuff, right? And your relationships suffer, right? With your kids or with your spouse or whoever, right? If you don't have purpose, if you don't understand who you are. And like I mentioned before, all this stuff that's talking about the marketplace, and it's very applicable to that, it needs to start with you though, right? If it doesn't start with you, it will crumble. The other stuff will crumble because you will not have it all together. And you need to be well composed here so that when stuff happens, you're still able to rebuild when you need to rebuild. You're able to repair a relationship when they need to be repaired, right? And so last night, all of you were sharing some phenomenal stuff. And the common theme that came through was breaking free or breaking through something, right? And that's the goal that I hope that all of you walk away this weekend with, is you break free from whatever was holding you back. As I mentioned, free from broken relationships, right? Or bad business venture. Man, I've failed in so many businesses. I've literally lost millions on stuff that I kick myself for down the road. But I'm like, you know what? I learned, right? I'm just going to dust myself off, and we're going to make it happen. We're going to figure something else out, right? But you got to get past all these hindrances that have been in your life holding you back, keeping you from really becoming who you're meant to be. Because each and every one of you, I know the common theme, and sometimes we just blurt this out. We say, what do you do? Or what are you? Oh, I'm a lash artist. Oh, I'm a business owner. Or I'm a CEO. I challenge you to say, no, you're not. You're much more than that. That is a byproduct of who you are. That is just a function. Because one day, that will end. And then you move on to something else, whether it's by your choice or not. So knowing who you are is much more important than what you are doing. Don't confuse the two. Okay? But I want you to close your eyes for just a second. And I want you to jump back with me to last night as you were sharing. And I know a bunch of emotions were going, and you had all these memories flooding back from your experiences that you were sharing with each other. And I want to recount this again to you, because as I was listening to everybody, I was taking notes on each and every one of you. And again, I won't mention names, but I'm going to mention a takeaway that I took from it, and what I seen as a common denominator across many of you that you came into this weekend with, but that you need to break free from. Okay? You need to get past. And I believe that if you will own up to it and say, yes, I'm going to get through this, I'm going to get past it, I'm going to become a better business owner. I'm going to become better at the accounting side of things, and the marketing side of things, and the technology side of things. But I need to get better at this piece first. This is the piece that I need to get figured out first, so that I can get past the rest of the stuff that I get to. And like I mentioned at the beginning, every time you go past the hardest thing you ever had to do, a new ability is born. So many of you are wrestling with that toughest thing you've ever had to do, and it's a memory that floods you whenever you think about it, and all of a sudden your emotions well up and they take over you. But when you can get past that hard thing that's been in your life and overcome that, you're going to develop a new ability in your life. And that's what I hope that you take away. So some things that you were sharing about what you're wanting to break free from. Breaking free from unfulfilled dreams. Breaking free from cultural and generational expectations. Breaking free from family and their expectations. Breaking free from the fear of the past. Breaking free from the pressure of being the responsible one. Breaking free from the expectation of others. Breaking free from family expectations. Breaking free from the rat race. Breaking free from purposelessness. Breaking free from shame. Breaking free from confusion. Breaking free from a poverty mentality. Breaking free from regret. Breaking free from fear. Breaking free from perfectionism. Breaking free from false religion. And breaking free from distrust or confidence. So, if either one of you just contemplate on this for a second, if either one of those, you're like, oh, I remember I said that. Or you didn't even say it like that, but you said something that was related to that. If that's you, I want you to make a decision today. You need to make a decision. And if you don't know what a decision is, it's not the same as a choice. Okay? A choice is you got multiple options to pick and choose from. A decision is you cut yourself off from anything else but that. And you do it. So make a decision right now in your inner being and in your mentality and in your heart that I'm going to break free from that thing that wants to destroy me. That every time I bring it up, it makes me want to just vomit. Makes me want to break down and cry. Makes me want to punch somebody in the face. Make a decision right now that you're going to break free from that. That before you walk out of these doors this weekend, that's not going to be something that's attached to you anymore. It's not your burden to bear. Can you hear me? You can nod for me if you do. You can shake if you disagree. It's okay. Again, I'm not here to convince either one of you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you get healed from those things. Okay? All right. You guys can open your eyes now. Thank you. Yeah.